Hey folks, what is up? I just got back from a surf today at Diamond Head. My hair is still a little bit wet from it. So I wanted to talk today about working too much. This was a huge deal for me when I was starting my company because I worked all the time. I would wake up in the morning, I'd go into the office, I'd come back home for dinner, I'd be talking about work at dinner, I'd be thinking about it, I'd be dreaming about it, and then on weekends, even if I wasn't at my laptop, which oftentimes I was still always thinking about the company. And I had many a romantic partner and relationship where my boyfriend just saw me have a meltdown. Like I would be over dinner just thinking about, oh my God, how am I gonna make payroll? What's gonna be the next business idea? How do I come out against a competitor? And this was an ongoing thing that not only hurt me, but it also hurt them and the relationship. If you wanna learn how to work less, grow your company faster, and enjoy life more, this episode is for you. Stay tuned. My name is Tracy. I'm a tech entrepreneur, and I'm currently in Hawaii recovering. After a decade of building a Silicon Valley startup, I went through depression, loneliness, and struggle. Here, I get vulnerable and share my experiences and advice so entrepreneurs never feel alone. Subscribe down below, and let's have some real conversations. First things first, we need to talk about setting boundaries. And the reason is, for me, I am at my best, I'm extroverted, I really like people, but at my worst, I'm a total people pleaser. It's really difficult for me to say no to people, especially when they need me or they need my help. That's just who I am. It's who a lot of leaders are, and that's totally okay. But the thing is that you have to recognize it, because what had happened to me was that I became completely reactive to other people's needs. And when you've got customers, team members, and investors probably around the world in a bunch of different time zones, that means you are working around the clock. I would respond to them immediately because I had my mobile device, which made it worse, and I felt like, oh my God, they need me right now. But this became a total drain on my energy and resources, and I lost sight of my needs. Setting boundaries, that's exactly the opposite of losing your needs. It's stating this is what I need in order to have good energy and because I feel worthy. When I didn't set boundaries, I started to resent the company. But really, I started to resent myself. Because look, no matter how insecure you are, no matter how small you might feel, there is always this inner subconscious that knows when you're letting somebody walk all over you, right? And so I knew that, I felt that. And that made me feel small, made me feel worthless, made me feel like I couldn't lead the company. And that absolutely affects your leadership of the company. So I actually found that setting boundaries is the thing that saved my relationship with the company, as opposed to letting it take all of my energy and all of my spirit. So how did I set boundaries? First, I stopped push notifications on my phone, especially from my email. This was so big. I literally remember the moment right after a fundraise where I decided to stop all those notifications, and I felt my life just clear up because I wasn't constantly being reactive to other people telling me what they wanted. I was able to check my email, and I would do it at specific times during the day, and making sure that they don't rule my schedule, I rule my own schedule. This is especially important because you're carrying your phone with you throughout the day and into the night and on weekends. So stop those push notifications. I can't talk about email without talking about managing tasks. Manage your tasks outside of email. This one took me a while to learn. Now it's super obvious to me. So I use this software called Asana. And Asana is a task management system that allows me to wake up every morning and say, what are the tasks that I need to get done that day? I have an urgent and important section and a bonus section. Urgent and important, I get done that day. And I set it up so that there are no more than 3 tasks in urgent and important. This is critical because if you set too many tasks for yourself, you go from your standard working hours, whatever you set them to be, to bleeding out and over. We need to be careful as entrepreneurs. We are so ambitious, we think we can get so much more done than we actually can. I still suck at this today. I think I can do 10 things. Really, I could do 3 meaty things a day. The rest goes into bonus. If I end up doing it, awesome, it's a celebration. If not, no sweat, I can move it to the next day. The other way that I stopped from working too much was that I built a morning routine that was just for me. There's something important and symbolic about starting the day for you. I read this in this book called Morning Miracle. The whole concept is that you just start your day an hour, maybe 2 hours earlier, and you set aside a specific ritual. So my rituals that I started at 6:30 a.m. And what I would do is I would wake up, I would meditate for 10 minutes, probably use the Calm meditation app. Then I would go and I would journal. Journaling was so critical for me. I'd have a nice matcha latte. That was kind of like my morning treat to myself. And then maybe I'd end with some movement, maybe a little bit of yoga, 10 or 15 minutes. That was all sacred time. I did not check my phone. I definitely did not check my email. I would wait till I was done. And by 8 a.m., I was done and I was ready for work. This next lesson took me 6 years to learn. Stop working weekends. Simple, very, very hard pill to swallow. Here's what I started to find, okay? There's always this excuse for working those extra hours. It's like, oh, I have this very big problem. Oh, I got to cover for this person because we haven't hired for this person yet in this department, whatever it might be. But the problem is that when I was doing it, I found that I actually was covering up the weakest parts of the company. That's number one. And then the second part is that I actually wasn't allowing my team to step up and solve the hairiest problems, so I was stopping them from growing. It was completely unscalable for me, and it didn't let my team scale either. So this is really, really dangerous stuff. Let's look at it this way. Let's say that you are an employee and you might have been in this situation before, and you have a manager that steps in every time that there's a hairy problem, and they come in and they champion it. Maybe they work all weekend, they solve it, they save the day. They also get the credit, by the way, and the lessons. Over time, you find that you don't feel like you have trust placed in you to solve the problems. Now let's say that your team doubles and your manager can't find the time to solve these hairy problems, but they still don't have the trust to give it to you to solve. So all of a sudden you've got more of the problems, they don't have the time, and you don't have the opportunity to learn. What would you do? I would leave. I would 100% leave. As someone who is talented, you have to make sure that that person has the opportunity to grow and solve the problems. And if you're working weekends, it's very likely that you're not actually empowering your people to solve those problems. You're doing it yourself. That's potentially an ego thing. Quick caveat to this. There are definitely times when you're first early starting your company and you're the only person around and something breaks. Okay, fine, it makes sense to work a weekend. Or maybe you have an urgent client issue and you're really the only person as a founder that they really want to see and talk to de-escalate. I get it, those make sense. The danger is, don't let those bleed over into you checking your email and then starting to set up different projects and tasks for yourself on the weekends. There can be one-offs, I get it, I've been there and I'll probably be there again. But if it becomes a recurring problem, you need to make sure to kind of pause, stop yourself and say, do I really need to do this on the weekend? Also, did you notice that I have a pineapple? Hawaii is so cool. The other tip is to prioritize romance. I know that's strange, okay? Hear me out. If you're single, go on dates. So at the early stages of my company, I refused to date. I even rejected somebody that I really liked because of work. Weird, right? I ended up asking my dad about it, and he gave me this amazing advice. And he said, look, you have to enjoy every moment that you're building the company. And if you're not enjoying yourself and you're not out dating, you're not gonna enjoy this whole decade that I eventually spent on the company. It was the best advice I got. Make it a priority. Make that fun, that romance a priority. If you're in a relationship, set up date nights. This has been very, very important for me. Set up one night a week, usually around a meal and an activity. Phones down, no work, pre-scheduled, recurring every single week. And what that does is that set boundaries against the company for your partner, and that makes them feel special as well. Do not let the company ruin your relationship, because that's one of the early stages of letting the company really ruin your life. Close relationships are very important. And for you, it may not be romance. Maybe it's about your friendships. Maybe it's about your family. I say romance because for me, I know that I really work very well having a partner and I really want a partner. So whatever that priority is for you, that's based on social relationships, make that a priority and set the boundary up early. All in all, it's important to remember and have the perspective that building the company actually is meant to help you build the life that you want. Yes, it may be about building a mission. Yes, it may be about personal values, building a cool product or service. But ultimately, that's because you have something in your life that you want to see come into the world. It's about you. Don't feel like you're being selfish. Make it about you having a good life. It's not all about that. But you have to make sure that having a good life is a priority in it. I lost sight of this for sure. Remember that people pleaser thing? I always made it about other people. And now that I look back on it, I'm thinking, how do I make sure that I make it so it's sustainable for myself and that I love the life that I'm living? And I love the work that I'm doing. Those are my tips. Please hit that like button if you like it, subscribe, and let me know in the comments, are you working too much? Are you a recovering workaholic? And what's helped you so that we can share it with the community and really make building companies a much more enjoyable experience for the founders and the entrepreneurs who do them. Speaking of enjoying life, that beach is looking good, so I'm gonna go for a surf.